Hello everyone and welcome to Timberborn. This is the beginning of a new series that will be the One Pod Challenge. We'll go ahead and get a new game started right away. We are going to be using the Iron Teeth for this one. And then we're going to be using the Beaverome map. Since we'll only have one breeding pod on this map, we're going to be relying on beaver bots quite a bit. And there is plenty of bad water for them to be hanging out in. This will also be on the normal difficulty as opposed to hard like I did in the last challenge. So right off the bat we want to get this paused and then start looking at getting some of the basic infrastructure set up. One of the first things we'll look at doing is getting a water pump set up, and we'll also need to get some lumberjacks. We'll also need to mark all these trees to be chopped down. I've also gone back and forth about whether it is better to chop down the dead trees or the live trees first. And I think that it's probably better to chop the dead ones down since they won't be growing anymore, but these live trees will still have a chance to drop saplings and have new baby trees grow up. But in the end it probably makes very little difference. Let me know what you guys think down below. We'll also need to get some storage set up. And one thing we should immediately do is get the breeding pod set up. We only get one, so we want to make sure we start as soon as possible. And we will also need to get some berries to use for the breeding pod. And with the first day over pretty quickly, we will go ahead and speed it up. Unfortunately, the beavers don't really have anything to do. We can look at getting a campfire set up. We'll place it somewhere that we won't be needing to grow food with all the green space. So I got the idea of this challenge from another YouTuber, Barthak. I believe he worked on this challenge a year or two ago, and I don't know if he ended up completing it, but I'm going to be trying to finish this one. I think it would be a good idea to try and shoot for getting this monument created. Although as I experienced in the last challenge on hard mode, it takes quite a bit of resources to get this completely constructed. And with us only having 12 beavers, it's going to make it a lot more difficult. Thankfully there are bots, so we will be needing to get the bot part factory and bot assembler up and running as fast as we can. But in order to get to that, we'll need to get several things, including metal blocks, gears, and a lot of science before that. So we'll get our first inventor's hut set up, and we'll want to prioritize this, although there's not really anything else we're working on right now. One thing we will have to do is balance the jobs that we have set up. Right now we have a bunch of lumberjacks since we don't have a whole lot of other work for them to do right now. And right now we only have one water pumper. We might need to get a second one up and running, so might as well start getting that set up now. And with the berries over here, this will last us for a little while, but we should look at getting a farmhouse set up as well. At least give the food a chance to grow. So we have about 30 wood. We have this guy over here. He can reach all the way into this area. These beavers can reach all the wood up here, and these are oaks, so they have 8 logs with each tree, which will be fantastic. Should allow us to not run out of wood at least for a little while. And then we have a beaver who is going to be planting some crops for now, but as soon as he finishes planting all the food, then we'll go ahead and pause him and switch him to something else. Just like this guy, he is maxed out on berries. We don't need to have him working on that. We'll want to get another inventor's hut set up, and then we'll also look at getting some housing set up for these beavers. This holds 10 beavers. We have 12 at the moment. Ideally, I'd like to have one of these larger barracks, but that costs a lot of science and we do not have that right now. So for now we'll just stick with this one, and then maybe we'll get another one set up behind it. So we have a little bit more water storage set up. One of the benefits of this challenge is that since we won't have a lot of beavers, we won't actually have a huge need for water or food. So we will be upgrading these storages, but we won't really need to get some of the bigger storages. Like, we will not need this super large tank for water. I think we'll probably be good with just a medium tank. And having a house, it actually impacts the beavers' well-being. Who would have thought? They do enjoy sleeping indoors, so they're up to 4 well-being. And this guy has almost finished planting all the crops, so pretty soon we'll be able to pause him. One thing we will want to do is get an industrial lumber mill set up, because we'll need the planks in order to build the forester. And in terms of power, I think that just getting a compact water wheel set up will be a good first step. This will be a good first source of power. Our other options are getting a large power wheel, but that costs a lot of logs, and we don't really have that much beaver power to spare. And just like that, he finished planting the crops. We'll pause him. He can hang out in this job for now. And we can actually bump that up one more. And then we can get a wood workshop set up. Once they finish building this, then they'll get this one worked on. And I'm hoping that even though this doesn't go all the way across and the water could go around it, it will produce at least enough power to power this. Maybe not at 100% efficiency, but at least something decent so we don't need to worry about this not working. And then we can get another house set up, but we will have this set to lowest priority since the majority of the beavers already have housing set up. Looks like having just one water pumper is sufficient so far. We're completely maxed out on water, and he's actually sitting around for part of the time. And they just finished the industrial lumber mill. I think I called it a wood workshop earlier. But it looks like this is running at a decent amount of power, 71%, not the end of the world. We'll need to get some storages set up for him. For now, we'll get a couple of these set up, and we'll store the planks in here. We'll do a lot of upgrading for our materials down the road, but these are just pretty convenient spots to fit some little 1x1 storages. And just like that, we can go ahead and unlock the forester. We have enough science, but we want to get that set up over here. We want to get it basically as far in as we can. That way it has the most area that it can cover in planting trees. And then we'll want to high prioritize this for being constructed as well as for the workers. And then we'll do a good mix of all three of the trees that we want to plant. The birch will be helpful for getting us some short-term wood. Pine will be helpful for getting some of the medium-term wood, even though it's not quite as efficient as our big daddy right here, the oak trees. And we actually just ran out of food. I just noticed that. We'll go ahead and unpause this farmhouse. And we'll also unpause this gatherer flag. But that means we have some vacant jobs now. We can reduce the amount of builders we have, because I don't think we're actually constructing anything right now. In fact, we can drop that all the way down to 1. And I think we should actually add a second farmer for now. We have a small area that they can store the kohlrabis. Plus they can hold up to 50, I believe, in the farmhouse. We can go ahead and get a teeth grindstone set up, give him something to work on. Tazingo, he is going to be the one constructing this. And it looks like he's doing a pretty quick job of it. We do want to absolutely make sure that this is always up and running, since we are going to be very short on beavers this whole episode. And as soon as we hit 100 science, we're going to go ahead and start getting some platforms set up. We'll want to have them go across here so we can expand our water wheels. And then once we get that set up, we can get a gear workshop. We're going to place it right around here. We have a couple trees that they need to harvest. And just like that, we reach our threshold. We can unlock platforms now. And then we'll have them start working on getting some more water wheels. And it looks like we're actually maxed out on logs, so we can go ahead and pause some of these lumberjack flags for now. And we'll throw them into the builder's huts. We can also go ahead and up the amount of workers we have in here. Let's see, we can find another job to pause, I believe. Berries we're doing pretty good on, we can pause that for now. This will help us get through some of our log storage, and then this guy, looks like he's going to come over here and start working on some of these trees pretty quickly. Plus getting some more planks will help us get through this. Since we only have one right now, we need a few more. Now, I do remember some of you commenting in the last series that we don't need to have water wheels going all the way across. We can actually put some barriers up and then focus the water into a more narrow channel, which is more efficient. So once we get a levee unlocked, we can go ahead and place that right here. It's not going to be channelizing it a lot, but it'll do just a little bit. And it will also give us an opportunity to connect the water wheels to another system over here, since we'll probably be adding some on this side. And then we can have some power shafts that lead underneath here and connect. Looks like they did remove the trees over here. We don't quite have enough to unlock the gear workshop yet, so we'll wait just a little bit on that. As you can see, the forester has been doing a great job planting trees. We need to make sure we fill in the ones over here. Got all the oaks selected to be planted. We are getting so close to unlocking the gear workshop. We're just about there. Just need 4 more science. I think we should get it by the end of the day. And there we go. We can go ahead and place this. Thankfully, we've been saving up some planks. We have about 30. And we're going to burn through them pretty quick getting this constructed. Let's go ahead and get another campfire set up, since it seems like there are some beavers who were just hanging around because they couldn't go hang out in here. Looks like we are doing pretty good on food. We're actually getting pretty close to maxing it out, so we'll reduce the amount of workers in here by 1. Looks like we had a vacant job on top of our lowest priority job, this lumberjack flag. We'll also need to make sure we have some storage set up for the gears. Really short term, we'll make sure we have at least something. Make sure we have this prioritized. And at the beginning of day 13, we have a drought approaching. Water's looking like it's doing fantastic. Might as well get another couple storages set up. And the beaver's well-being did bump up to 6. Having that second campfire is going to be helpful. And leading up to this drought, we'll go ahead and unpause this water pumper. This guy is once again sitting around, so we'll pause him. Looks like we have a pretty good balance of beavers and jobs. So right now we have a lumber mill and we have a gear workshop set up. The next thing we'll need to look at is scrap metal. And I see we have some ruins over in these 2 pools of bad water. Looks like there is some scrap metal all the way over here, but that is quite a journey. It might be our only option without having the beavers get contaminated. So that is unfortunate. It's going to be quite a trek, but I think we'll need to work on getting the beavers over here and start collecting some of this because we need to get bots up and running pretty quickly. We also have exactly enough for stairs, so we'll use all our signs and get that unlocked. So without destroying all of these blueberry bushes on the way over, we'll go up and around. We need to make sure we connect this in with a path. But it is going to be quite the journey to construct everything to get out here. And we have almost maxed out our planks. I lowered this to just 1 beaver. And I think we'll throw the extra one in here. We're going to keep this job at lowest priority. So we're okay with this not being filled most of the time. But we don't ever want to have any beavers not doing anything. So this is kind of our buffer job. But having a couple beavers working in the district center is going to be fantastic. That way we can hopefully get this stuff constructed as quick as we can. It will take a bit of science. It takes 250 to get the scavenger flag unlocked. And then we'll probably need at least 1 or 2 beavers working, but it's going to take a long time to get them sent out here. We will need to look at getting a hauling post set up in terms of efficiency of having them carry more scrap metal back to where we need it. Alternatively, we could also look at getting the scrap metal production set up over here. It would be splitting up our production from this area to over here, but until we get bots, that might actually make the most sense. Since for metal block production, it'll only take scrap metal and then a little bit of wood to make a metal block, and then once we get bots unlocked, which I don't know where we'd actually put all of these buildings, not quite sure that part, but once we do get bots unlocked, we can have them go over here to get scrap metal, and then also get some of the scrap metal over in this area. And the wet season is just about to end. We have 0.1 days left. Looks like at the end of today they went through a little bit of water, but this should stay elevated for a short while since we have a little under half a tile of water in here and then 1 and some change of a tile here. And with it being on normal mode, it's only a 2-day drought. Not going to be very difficult to get through that. Although one of the downsides is that we will run out of power. Thankfully we have a decent amount of planks and some gears, but we're not really using it for anything. So we can go ahead and pause these since there's no power now. And with the added beaver capacity, we'll add 2 of them to the district center. We are starting to run low on food, so we'll add another beaver to here, and then we'll reduce 1 from the district center. Although it looks like these beavers aren't pumping around the clock. We'll pause this. Playing a little bit of musical jobs right now. Looks like we're doing alright on wood. We don't have a whole lot. This guy has a decent amount of wood he could still chop down. This beaver doesn't really have that much. He's chopping this stuff. I think we should move him and have him a little bit more central. That way he can actually reach some of the wood in this area. So we'll high prioritize this, and then we'll keep this lowest priority. And then this job will replace that, and then we'll get rid of this pretty quickly as soon as they finish building this. You can see that the water levels dropping is actually starting to affect the green space. It was all the way over here, but now it's zooming back in. Thankfully, it's not dropped low enough that it's impacting our garden over here. I was thinking about putting dams across here, but it costs a lot more wood. And at some point, this is all going to turn into bad water spawning during a bad tide. which we will need to figure out what we're going to do for our crops. Most likely we'll need to get some 3x3 pools set up and then grow crops in there, and then get some irrigation barriers along the side, that way it doesn't impact these. Although down here the bad water doesn't spread up since there's an elevation difference. We might need to actually remove some of this so that the water level drops enough, but that also means we wouldn't be able to rely on this to irrigate this area. And just like that, we made it through the first drought of the season. That was nothing compared to what we went through during the last series. I think that our longest drought or bad tide was 29 days. I don't think we quite made it to the maximum 30 days, but we had plenty of water storage set up, so it didn't actually impact us too much except for one episode. But so far we're off to a great start. We haven't really noticed the lack of beavers quite yet. We have had to play around with what jobs we've been putting the beavers in, but that is going to start changing pretty soon. And my guess is the next episode that is going to be the case when we start getting some scrap metal all the way over in this area. But until then, we're going to wrap up today's episode. Let me know if you guys are looking forward to this series, and if you have any tips on what I can do to make sure that we get to the bots as fast as possible. And with that, if you enjoyed today's video, go ahead and smash that like button. I really do appreciate it. Leave a comment down below and be sure to subscribe. And I will see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.